Hi, I'm Mike, and I'm trying to think about others a little bit more.
And I'm not.
You're not?
I am.
Wait, you are or you're not?
I am not.
Okay, you're not. Hey, not. How was your Christmas?
It was great. It was everything I dreamed it would be.
Excellent. How'd you work that out?
Well, first of all, I made a list of everything I wanted, and then I went to the store and bought it. Wrapped them up, and of course I had to put other people's names on the tags to make it look like I wasn't so self-absorbed. But anyways, you just can't count on other people getting you gifts. I mean, I've got some pretty lame ones over the Christmases.
Yeah, I bet. Did you get anything special for your wife this year?
Oh yeah, I got her a 6-horsepower, self-propelled mulching lawnmower.
Wow, a lawnmower.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to put up with a whole nother summer of her telling me how long it took her to cut the grass.
Did you get her anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want you to think I don't have a soft side. I also got her a top-of-the-line pedicure set.
Oh, now, that sounds like a great gift. She must have loved that.
Oh yeah, she did. I mean, I just wasn't satisfied with how my nails felt or looked with her using those old pair of scissors. So I figured a new sharp scissors and fresh set of files would be perfect. Yeah, oh yeah. Gotta get that important phone call. Not here. Not here. Not here. Hate when it does that. Oh, yeah, I suppose you're expecting me to ask you how your Christmas was, so go ahead.
Oh, actually, I had a great Christmas too. I got to hang out with my family and friends, and I tell you what, we did this really cool thing called Ring and Run Santa, where we went, we bought presents, and we took them to people's houses and dropped them on the doorsteps and rang the doorbell and ran. It was awesome.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Oh, no, really, it was a ton of fun. I feel like serving together with my friends, we got closer, and I made a lot of new friends too.
Yeah, like who would do that with you?
Like a lot of people, like, hey guys, come here.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, man.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Oh. Well, I made some new friends at Christmas too.
Oh, that's awesome. I'd love to meet them.
Yeah, I don't think any of them have time to come right now.
Hey, come on.
Hi, welcome to Shop Mart. Did you find everything you were looking for?
The iLife. All right, guys, here we go. It's all about me. I want everyone to be like me. And that's what we're looking at for the next 4 weeks, is what happens when we live the iLife. And how about those Mac PC commercials? Aren't those great? Do you guys like those? I mean, whoever that team is that did those, man, they're just genius. So I was sitting there thinking, I just thought, what would happen if the general public decided to do a Mac PC commercial? And on one side was just the average Joe, normal person, and on the other side was a Christian. If the general public was doing a Mac PC commercial and they were going to try to show the Christian, do you think they'd be the Mac guy or the PC guy? Hello? Anybody here? The PC. I mean, come on. That's not even a question, right? I mean, you guys know. Here's how I know. When somebody asks you what you do and you tell them, it's no big deal, right? You know what happens when I tell people what I do? Yeah. I'm telling you, it goes one way or the other. There's no neutral ground. Either it's intrigue and we have a good conversation, or somebody wants nothing to do with me after I tell them. It just recently happened. In fact, where I study is actually really important to me, trying to find a place where I can really connect. And I found a local place that I've been really enjoying the last couple of months. So I've been going there quite often. And one of the first times I was there, I was sitting down and the gal working behind the counter, and we were getting in a really great conversation. She was really friendly, really engaging. It was awesome. And then the phone rang, and I took the call. I got off the call, and she goes, "Hey, so was that a business call?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, what do you do?" She goes, and I said, "Well, I'm a pastor." And I'm telling you, wonk. Ever since, every time when I go in there now, it's hard for her to even look me in the eye. So actually, I'm taking suggestions. If anybody knows what I could say I do, if anybody has a suggestion so I don't have to say pastor, just email me, dnelson@k2thechurch.com. But here's the deal. Why does she act that way? If I say pastor, She doesn't know me from Adam. She knows nothing about me, nothing I'm sure about this church. But as soon as she hears the word pastor, that's what she thinks. See, if the world was going to do a Mac PC commercial, there's no question the Christian would be on the PC side. Because I think they think we're judgmental, out of touch, boring, ignorant, and closed-minded. And maybe many cases we are. But that's the issue. So then I was thinking this. Let's go a little bit deeper. Not just what if we did a Mac PC commercial with Christians? What if we did a Mac PC commercial, and on one side was humanity, and on the other side was Jesus Christ? Think about that for a second. What would that commercial be like? Can you imagine? I just sat there and tried to imagine what that would look like, and you guys, I just started cracking up. Because it would be ridiculously lopsided. If Jesus could get up there and be who he was, and then we would be on the other side, and all of our humanity, I'm telling you, it would be painful to watch. Because we would see who we are in such a bright, clear way when you could see it compared to who Jesus Christ is. Because Jesus Christ, the world may think Christians are this, but I'm telling you, Jesus Christ is the most intriguing, compassionate, powerful, honest, loving, amazing display of humanity that the world has ever seen. He really is. And I think in a nutshell, on this side, if we had humanity and Jesus, on this side in humanity, we'd have the iLife and everything that results around a person that lives for themselves. And on this side, you'd have Jesus Christ and everything and all the results of a life that's revolved around others. And it would be unbelievably different, shocking. And our hope, you guys, for this series, this whole iLife series, is that we'll be able to show the difference between the iLife and the life of Jesus Christ. And if you happen to be here at Christmas Eve, then you'll remember what we were sharing. What Christmas was all about is Jesus said, I'm going to come into this world, and I'm going to change this world. But the way I'm going to do it is I want to come and actually come into your heart. I want to come into each individual life. And I want to bring my life into yours. And you guys, if that happens, you will begin to experience a supernatural transformation. You will, of the natural bent to live for yourself. And that's what we're going to look at. 4 deep areas that every single one of us struggles with, and how the life of Christ is so different than that, with the hope that he can change that. So before we jump in, I want to pray. And I'm going to ask you to join with me. I'm going to pray on your behalf. But would you pray for me? Because here's the deal. We've had 2 great services. This is number 3. Let's make it right. Here we go. And what I'm asking you to do, would you just open your heart to that possibility that your life could be impacted by his life, and what might happen with that. And all you got to do today is open up your heart to that possibility and open up your mind to that. So let's pray together and ask him to do that. Father, thank you that every person in this room matters to you. Thank you that your love for them is deep. And you know, God, you know what each one of us is struggling with. You know where we struggle in this whole iLife issue. And God, I'm just asking that you might pour your grace on here, on this place, and open our eyes to who you are and the possibilities that could happen in our life if we invite you in. And we pray for it in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, so today is iAm. And I was going to call it I Demand, because that's what we're looking at. This whole idea that life is really about me. And if you're honest with yourself, this happens to every single one of us. This iLife has this voice, and it kind of just cries out to every single one of us as soon as you wake up in the morning. As soon as you're actually coherent and you can start thinking about your day, you start thinking about yourself. You do. Every single one of us does. How am I going to live this day? And usually it's revolved around how I'm going to make it best for me, because I am the center of my world, and I need to be lots of different things. I need to be liked. I need to be important. I need to be satisfied. I need to be right. Any of you like that? I need to be the best, or at least I need to be better than you. I need it my way, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it. At the core, I just felt like it's like this. I need to be whatever that is. I need to be. And for that to happen, you must not be. And that, if we're honest with ourselves, is how we live a lot of our life. Because by the end of the day, I'm going to want to know that I was satisfied. And to be honest with you, I don't really care if you were or not. And that life doesn't work. It's so funny. My younger brother, he married this gal, Linda, and Linda was from this really affluent home in Southern California, and she married this hodunk little, guy from Lapeer, Michigan. And it was so hilarious when they got married. She was 20 years old. She was really young. And one of her favorite phrases when she first got married was, "It's about me and my needs." And I just love that because actually she was joking, but not really. Because isn't that what marriage does? As soon as you get married, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so selfish. That's what marriage is for, by the way. If you're finding that you're selfish, you've had a successful marriage. Not really, but you know that that's what it does because all of a sudden you realize you take this life that you were able to live by yourself and you bring it in together with another person and you realize, oh my goodness, I live so much of my life about me and my needs. And let's be honest, none of us really enjoys it when it's all about somebody else. None of us really enjoy it when somebody's better than we are and you feel like you're on the bottom of the totem pole. I mean, that's just, none of us like that type of life. That's a little bit, but seriously, guys, think about this. After a long day's hard work, okay, all you guys out there, you just stressed yourself out, you poured yourself out. You're driving home, you get close to the house. Don't you hear that mega, it's like this voice inside your heart and it's like a megaphone. And it says, okay, now it's all about you, right? And meanwhile, your wife's been home with all three of the small kids all day long, and she's waiting for that door to open so that she can hear her voice say, okay, Susan, it's all about you. Now, you know what happens when two people who are thinking it's all about them comes together? It's beautiful. It's just harmony and peace and love. It's just, no, you know it, man. It is chaos. The iLife, two people living the iLife, coming together, it's chaos. How many of you actually oversee people at your work? Anybody here? Okay, got people, man, just a few of you, okay? But if you oversee someone at your work, you know, it's like, I worked hard to get to this place, and I finally made it. And you know what? I'm sick and tired of someone else telling me what to do all the time. Now, we're gonna do it my way. And you finally have a chance to do that. And here's what's interesting, like for me, I'm the lead pastor of this church. So that would mean I get to oversee people. And you know what? I don't have a megaphone in my voice when it comes to this one. I have the whisper, right? So every time you're making decisions, right, and you're basing all around that, come on, let's be honest, right? You're sitting there and you're thinking, you can't help but think, how is this going to benefit me? And how can I make this decision move just a little bit so that it'll be good for me? Instead of thinking about the benefit of others. How many of you have ever worked for somebody who only thought about themselves and never thought about the benefit of you? Anybody work for someone like that? Yeah, isn't that fun? How many of you have ever worked with, not for somebody, how many of you have worked with somebody, right, who's next to you, and you're supposed to be on this team, but every time they get a chance, they toot their own horn, and they show, and like all the work that they did? Anybody work with someone like that? Yeah, isn't that fun? The answer is no. It's not fun, you guys, because as soon as there's an environment like that, there's no harmony, there's no unity, there's no great work environment. You can't be effective. I'm telling you, the iLife is not healthy. But let's talk about your life, and let's talk about my life. What are the natural consequences if we don't do something about this iLife in our relationships? Here's the first one. Sometimes people are more powerful than other people. And that can be physically, or that can be because of your position, or your influence, whatever. Sometimes people have more power than other people. What happens if the person who has more power is living an iLife? What happens? You know what happens? People get violated. That's what happens. That's when abuse happens. In this room right here, many of you have been sexually abused. Some of you have been physically abused. And I'm sure in some way or another, all of us have been verbally abused. What was that about? That was about somebody who had more power, who was all about themselves. And they didn't have your best interest in mind at all. And it can get ugly. I mean, really, if you think about it, that's all crime is. Crime is somebody saying, I'm about me, and I don't care about you, and I'm willing to violate you, abuse you, and hurt you to make my ends meet. And you know what? What's interesting is we all know that's wrong, right? We all know it. When I say that stuff right there, every single person sitting in this room says that should never happen. Why do we know that? Because there's something inside of each one of us that knows we should have a personal freedom. I'm reading this book right now called Let's Start with Jesus. And just a couple things I want to share with you today from this book. But the first one is this. Dennis Kinlaw is the writer. He says, at the human level, we see evidence of personal freedom in the sense of violation that comes to us when another's will has been forced upon us or when we have been used for another's self-interest. Persons intuitively know that they should be respected and should never be treated as objects to be used or violated. I'm telling you, you got the iLife and you got the life of Christ. And the iLife, if it's about you, will do nothing but destruction. So here's my statement for you today. You can write this down, take this home. iAm needs to become you are. iAm needs to become you are. When you wake up in the morning, there needs to be a total shift of our thinking so that I don't think about me anymore. I can actually think about you. Now, back in September, I pulled open this little guy, so my Bible, and I know many of you may or may not do this, but I want to encourage you, when you actually spend time in God's Word, you can have some amazing, amazing moments. And what you got to learn, and hopefully we'll do a good job here at K2, a better job even, helping you figure out how do I actually read the Bible so it impacts my life and doesn't put me to sleep. Wouldn't that be, maybe we should do a series on that. Because I know it's hard to read this thing, but I'm telling you, God will speak to you through this. So back in September, I was reading Matthew chapter 20, and it just blew me away. And as soon as I got done, I just said, someday I got to do a message on this. So I'm pumped because today's the day. So let me read for you this passage from Matthew 20. Here's what's going on. Jesus is heading up to Jerusalem. Now, if you don't know the Bible really well, you could be like, great, probably went there a lot. In Matthew chapter 20, it's at the end of his life, and he's heading to Jerusalem. What does that mean? It means Jesus Christ is heading towards his death. Jesus Christ is heading to the most important moment in all of human history. He's going to give his life away. He's going to live his life instead of the iLife to the extreme. And that's where we find the story. So in the middle of this journey, we find in verse 20, it says, then the mother of Zebedee's sons came to Jesus with her sons and, kneeling down, asked a favor of him. Now, so Zebedee's sons, who are they? That's James and John. And so who are James and John? James and John, Jesus had the 12 disciples, right? But then he had this little inner sanctum of Peter, James, and John. He had 3 disciples who experienced more of the intimacy with Christ, saw more things, heard more things. They were a little bit closer. 2 of those guys were James and John. And their mom comes to Jesus and says, hey, I got a favor to ask of you. Verse 21, what is it you want, he asks. And she said, grant that one of these 2 sons of mine may sit at your right and the other at your left in your kingdom. So again, what's that mean in our culture? Absolutely nothing. So in that culture, if you were sitting at the right hand of the one who was on the throne, you had the power and you had the authority and you had the honor. And if you were on the left, you were right below the guy on the right. You were the men. I am. I'm important. I'm powerful and I'm significant. And that's what was going on. And James and John had a good mom. So little mom was coming up and going, hey, would you put my boys up there on the right and on the left-hand side? And I love Jesus' response. In verse 22, he says, you have no idea what you're asking. Do you know what you're asking? He said to them, can you drink the cup I'm going to drink? And again, do we ever say that in our culture? Do you drink the cup I'm going to drink? What is he saying? Jesus was saying, are you ready? You're asking to experience what I experience. You're asking to go through what I go through. You're asking to live the type of life that I live. Do you really want that? And they say, we can. And then in verse 23, Jesus said to them, you will indeed drink from my cup, but to sit at my right or left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared by my Father. So basically what's going on here is, because James and John are totally in this deal, is they want to be the best. They want to be first. They want to be the greatest. And I love how they do this. They sneak around when the other 10 aren't there, right? And they go with their mommy. I love that. They go with their mommy and say, hey, Jesus, can you get us the best places? Our mom would like that. Yeah, whatever. So, and what happens in verse 24? When the 10 heard about this, they were indignant with the two brothers. Now, and I got to say, especially Peter, right? I mean, he really had to be ticked. Hello, I'm one of the three. You left me out of the deal. So you want to be higher than me? You want to be greater than me? And if you guys read the Bible, Peter's always a loudmouth. That would have been a great scene. Because I'm telling you, he was indignant. You know, what's that mean? Well, that means he was angry. So guys, don't miss this. What happens when James and John live the iLife? What happens? Here we go. Jealousy, anger, their indignation leads to conflict and the potential for a chance of division between the apostles. Even amongst the 12, right there. Boom. They live for themselves. Jealousy, anger, potential for conflict and division. And it's the same for you and I together. And I love what Jesus does. In verse 24, it says, 25, it says, Jesus called them together. All right, boys, come on. Let's have a talk. I got some splaining to do. I got to help you understand the difference here. And what does he say? Here, I love this. You guys catch this. You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Okay? And you and I know this too. What's he saying? Natural leaders lord it over others. Natural leaders exercise their authority over others. And then I love what he says. Very next thing, not so with you. Not so with you. So here we go, Christian. If you're out here today and you're a follower of Jesus Christ, not so for you. If you're considering Christianity and you're considering, hey, let's check out this Jesus guy, see what it would mean to follow him. One of the things it would mean to follow him is not so for you. You don't lord it over anybody. You don't abuse your authority over people. And then he goes on to say this. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first must be your slave. So you want to be great? Anybody? Want to be first? Want to be at the top? Then what Jesus is saying, in my kingdom, then that means you're the servant of all. Hey, you want to be first? Then that means that you become the slave. So what's that mean? Because as soon as we hear the word slave, man, we've got our own experience here in America, and it was horrific, absolutely anti-God. In this culture, it was a little bit different. Sometimes a slave would actually choose to be one. They appreciated their master so much that it was a place to work, basically. And I got food, I got a shelter over my head, and I would willfully actually be called that, a doulos, which meant this, you guys. So at the core, what it meant was a slave was one whose sole interest is that of their master. That's what a slave is. Here's what's amazing to me. So in that culture, you're sitting there and you go, as soon as I hear the word slave, I go, okay, that means I'm at the sole interest of my master. That's what I want to do. And what does Jesus say? He goes, if you want to be first, whoever wants to be first must be your slave. I'm trying to look around and see if anybody, I don't see any of the staff. But so like first service, Ryan Coley was sitting here. So Ryan's on staff, and Ryan reports to me. I'm the lead pastor, don't forget that. And what Jesus tells me is that if Ryan is here as a guy on staff for me, then I need to be Ryan's slave. If I want to be first, and I'm the lead, I think that means first, then I have to be a slave. Mike Rutledge was sitting there too. So if Mike is on staff, he reports to me. That means I'm the lead guy. That means I'm Mike's slave. First service, Susie was sitting over here. She's my wife. I need to be Susie's slave. If I want to be a great husband, if I want to be great, then I need to be a slave. But what does that really mean? What that means is, when I meet every week with Ryan, to be his slave means all I'm concerned about is his best interest, not mine. I'm not using Ryan to my ends to get somehow to benefit me. I meet with him to help figure out how he can be the best at what he does and how he can experience the fullness of life that he's got. And when I meet with Mike, I do the same thing if I'm really going to be first. And when I go home to my wife, if I'm going to be the greatest husband that I can be, then what I do is I think about her interests. Ryan, Mike, Susie, whoever becomes my master. And if I want to be great and if I want to be first, then my desire is their interest. Do you guys catch that? In Jesus Christ, that's greatness. That's what it means to be first. And I tell you what, you guys, it flips everything around. Because then what he does is actually one more statement on that. I just thought about that and I said, the iAm, okay? So you want to be iAm, which so many of us do with all of our life. In Jesus' world, you go, iAm must become you are. That's what it is. I don't think about me anymore. I'm actually thinking about you. And here's the greatest part, is then Jesus goes on to say in verse 28, he says all the stuff, whoever wants to be first must be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Now don't miss this, you guys. Hey, you guys want some theology? Okay. How about some theology today? Lots of times people are like, ooh, I hate theology. Well, do you know you have one? Everybody's got a theology. It's just your understanding of God. I'm going to give you some good theology today. All right? So if you're a Christian, let me show you your God. And if you're considering Christ, listen very closely. Let me introduce you to the God of the Bible, Jesus Christ. What did he say? I did not come to be served, but to serve and to give my life away as a ransom for many. Let me just stop just for a second there. Come on, let's be honest. When you think about God, right? How many of you automatically go, he's up there and he's just ready with a stick just to whack me when I screw up? How many of you, when you think of God, he's up there and he's so righteous and he's so holy and he's got his whole list, and as soon as you screw up, he's like, wah, ready just to discipline you and throw you out of his kingdom? When you think of God, how much of your immediate thought of God is this totalitarian God who's angry at you because you can't be what he wants you to be? And how many of you, when you think of God, the first thought that comes to your mind is, I want to serve you? Anybody ever think about God like that immediately? I've been walking with him for 20 stinking years, and I still struggle with that. If you don't, your theology is screwed up. Your understanding of God is wrong. And I'm telling you, this is what makes me angry. This is why I'm going to keep going back to that place. And every time I walk into that establishment, I pray before I go in there and I say, Jesus, will you walk in there? Because this gal has no idea how amazing you are and no idea how wonderful you are. She thinks you're something that is completely wrong. And you and I do as well. Jesus, who came to show us God, said, I didn't come for you to serve me. I came to serve you. And until you and I wake up in the morning and start thinking of God first as the one who loves us, we will be screwed up in our life. We need to know we have an amazing God who wants to give himself to us. See, because if we stand over here in the iLife, and if you continue to live for yourself, then you will experience the results. You will reap what you sow. And your relationships and the fullness of your life will never be everything it could be. But if you bring Jesus Christ into your life, and here's your application point, you guys, somehow, at some point in your life, you need to come, this will be the Christian message, okay? Because you have freedom. This is the weirdest thing to me about God. Did you know God will never force you to do anything? It's so interesting to me. He will offer himself to you every single day. and then give you the freedom to choose him or not. But his message to you is this. You got to give him a chance to take this nature that every single one of us is born with. See, that's the curse of being a human. A curse of being a human being is that we are born with the iLife. Yeah, come on, if you have small children, you know this, right? Because the first thing out of their mouth is, mine! Do any of you have a kid that the first thing out of their mouth was, yours? If you do, I want to meet him, because that would be a freak of nature, because naturally, every one of us is born with the curse of sin. And we live for ourselves. And what Jesus is saying is somebody's got to save you from that life. And you can't do it yourself. If you let me in, I will wash away your sin. Everything you've done wrong, to hurt others or to hurt yourself or to against me, I will forgive you completely. Clean your slate and give you a second chance. And then, as we said at Christmas, the miracle can happen. I will be born into your heart, and my spirit will come into yours. And then slowly and painfully, I'll begin to transform you supernaturally to be like Jesus, to be like me.